Hello and welcome to Baatchit with Cafemutual. I'm Suhail Chagna and today I'm at the Cafemutual Passives Conference. I'm joined by Pratik Oswal, Head of ETFs and Index Funds at Motilal Oswal AMC. It's a pleasure having you on the show. And how do you do today?
Good, very well. Congratulations on this phenomenal event. This is my third one, and I can truly say that it's getting better and better every year. So, kudos to Cafe Mutual and all the people who are involved.
Well, we're glad to have you here today. And today I'd like to talk to you a little about the passive industry. The passive industry as of April 2025 is now 11.55 crore. And this is an increase of 23% from April 24. So what do you think are three main reasons this growth has occurred?
Yeah. So here there are multiple levers of growth in passive funds. We believe that the biggest difference or the biggest improvement that we've seen in the last 1 year has been increase in awareness of passive funds. So what has happened is that a lot of asset managers beyond us or are now talking about passive funds and increasing your allocation towards passive funds. A lot of people are understanding what index funds ETFs are. This awareness was one of the biggest blockages for this industry over the last 10, 15 years time. And right now, what we can see is that most people we speak to tend to understand what index funds are, what ETFs are, and how they can play a part in the portfolio. So I think awareness has been the biggest improvement. The second is that passive funds used to be a niche product for a niche audience. What that means is that when we used to see clients who are investing in our passive funds, we used to see individual names about 3 to 4 years back. What has happened the last 1 year is that majority of the incremental new investors who come in have actually come in through partners. So our distributors, our a lot of these advisors, distributors, intermediaries have really adopted passive in an extremely big way in the last 1 year at least. So what we are saying is that now passive is no more a broad, a niche product, which is only relevant for a few investors. It's now we're seeing investors across all walks of life, all types of channels are coming in a very big way towards passive funds. So I think that has been the two big things that have led towards the growth in the last 1 year.
So I'd like to follow up on that. You spoke about adoption and growing awareness. If you look at markets like the US, passive funds make up 51% of the EUM. So what lessons do you think that India should learn from these markets in future adoption and awareness?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think India has evolved in their viewpoints about passive funds in their portfolio. Um, 3 years back when we had the same conference, Cafe Mutual, with the first time we had this conference, there was this big debate on active versus passive. Will alpha be there or alpha will not be there?
Right.
And I think that was a not great debate because we believe that if you look at the US markets today, firstly there is no alpha in the US, so it's increasingly hard to beat the benchmark as number one, and number two, I think in spite of that, most portfolios tend to be 50 active, 50 passive there. So I think there is this perception that your portfolio should have both. It's not about active or passive. It's all about active and passive. So I think what we're seeing today is a much more healthy debate where clients, advisors, partners, distributors are saying that, I want to allocate 20, 30% of my portfolio to passive. The rest can be other stuff.
Right.
So I think that's a much more healthier debate. And I think that is, very similar to what we see in the US where allocations tend to be in both active and passive.
All right. So you spoke on distributors. What message would you like to give to the distributors who think that passives mean lower commissions and they're hesitant to adopt passives because of that? So what do you have to say to them?
So I think this, it's a valid point. I'll be honest with you. I think commissions historically, maybe not now, but maybe 4 or 5 years back were extremely low. And, obviously, as a distributor, you obviously are looking at, there is a combination of returns and also commission that you have to look after, which is fair. What we're seeing today is a very different scenario where commissions have actually now come to close to the same.
Right.
We believe that, in a passive fund, most of our distributors, not looking at numbers, but, you can easily get about 60 to 80 basis points on your investments, on your investments on behalf of the clients. We believe that over the next 2 to 3 years time, the commission that you would get on active and passive funds would be fairly similar. So we do believe that yes, there is still a small difference,
Right.
but the difference will come down to zero the next. So I think in the next 2 or 3 years time, there should commission should not be a big issue. And I think distributors, when distributing products for their clients, should look at it from a 3 to 5 year perspective, where we don't see a big discrepancy.
All right. So those are my major three questions. Are there any closing thoughts you'd like to have for our distributor audience regarding asset funds?
Yeah. So my closing thought would be on seeing passive as I think an area where you can really personalize a customer's needs. I think that is going to be a big opportunity for all distributors in the next 5 years. What does that mean? If you look at investors today, take an example of watching movies. 10, 15 years back, we used to all go as a family and watch movies, right? Today, all of us have a screen, and we don't know the last time. I don't know the last time. Quite unfortunate, but to watch a movie with my parents where everybody wants to watch the same content. So investor portfolios have in the last 5 years become increasingly different from each other. In my experience of 5 years and looking at thousands of investor portfolios, what I've seen is that in spite of there being obviously a lot of funds, but very few people have similar portfolios.
Right.
So I think passives can play a very large role in trying to personalize a customer's preferences to their portfolio. If a client wants to buy an ESG fund, client wants to buy a thematic fund, a client wants to buy a gold and silver, a client wants to buy a factor-based fund, client wants to buy a US fund. Passives can really be used in a very good way to personalize a customer's needs, because customers are becoming so I think, control-centric. Clients are becoming a lot more individualistic in the way they see life. If a client, works in the healthcare industry, it makes sense for them to have a healthcare ETF or index fund in the portfolio or a healthcare fund. So, I think personalization, customization is what passives do very well at. And I think that's a big opportunity, for a lot of distributors who really better their customer engagement going forward.
All right. Well, that's all. And thank you for the great insights on the changing times.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. So that's it for this time's edition of Baatchit with Cafemutual. We'll catch you next time.